What's going on, guys? Once again, I'm talking about the NFL here today, specifically talking about my Minnesota Vikings. I've been following their training camp so far this year, and I've been liking a lot of the things that I've been reading about the players, young players on this team. It's a very young roster this year. I'm excited for the season, but one of the players I was excited about, Greg Childs, last night, had a very scary moment in practice, and a lot of Vikings fans and coaches' fears were confirmed this morning because he went deep for a pass last night and ended up on the ground, and he was screaming in pain, and he had to be taken off the field on a cart. He had an MRI, and the results were inconclusive because of swelling on his knees, and it had appeared that he had major injuries in both knees, and today they have confirmed both patellar tendons in both of his knees have been torn. And sadly, this was not the first time that Greg Childs has torn one of his patellas. He did so in 2010 when he was playing at a pretty high level, and he had his season cut short due to the injury, and he never came back to full strength in college. But the Vikings were hoping he could get over his injuries and be a productive receiver for them, a number 1 or number 2 receiver. I mean, he's got great size, great speed, prototypical outside receiver, and he had been playing pretty well in camp from what I had been reading, and he was one of the guys a lot of guys were talking about on this team, and he was a guy who I thought would end up being the starter day one because Jerome Simpson will miss the first 3 games due to his suspension, and the Vikings have a very young wide receiver core, and Childs, being a 4th-round pick, had one of the best opportunities on the team to start, and one of the main reasons why he fell so far in the draft was because of his injury concerns, but the Vikings wanted to take a chance on him, and it's obviously not paying off right now, and so I hope that Childs can recover to full strength and hopefully play for the Vikings eventually. But now with Childs done for the year, this is opening up a big opportunity for another wide receiver on this team because I was unsure whether some of these young guys would get to make this roster because when you have Percy Harvin, Jarius Wright is one of your rookies as well as Greg Childs, those guys are making the team. Of course, Jerome Simpson's going to make the team, but I've heard about the possibilities of Michael Jenkins being cut, possibly Devin Aroma-Shadoux. We have 7th-rounder Stephen Burton from last year who they drafted out of West Texas A&M. But my best guess for the guy who's going to be starting day one opposite of Percy Harvin is probably going to be Devin Aroma-Shadoux because he has some experience in the league, and I'm not sure about Michael Jenkins now if he's going to even make the team. I could see him being cut to make room for someone younger on the team that may actually be playing for the Vikings in a couple of seasons. But when you look at the rest of the wide receiver core, it's very, very raw and inexperienced and uncertain at this point, and so it's obviously going to be important to watch over the next 4 games in the preseason to see who can shine and who can make plays for this team because the Vikings have been desperate for pass-catching receivers, and I'm hoping somebody on this roster can really step it up. I want someone to come out of nowhere like Victor Cruz because the Vikings just need a wide receiver. So I'm watching Kerry Taylor, Emmanuel Arsenault, guys under the radar because it's pretty much wide open right now. If Jenkins doesn't make the team, this could be a very inexperienced wide receiver core, and I'm not sure how the wide receiver situation is going to end up. We can all assume that Simpson, Harvin, and Wright are all going to make the team, but then it's going to be Aroma-Shadoux, Burton, guys are going to be battling for roster spots. It's going to be interesting, and so I'm looking forward to seeing some guys try to step it up, but I was really hoping Greg Childs can make a big impact on this team, and I wish him well in his recovery, and so it's kind of a wait-and-see approach now. I want to see how these guys play in the preseason and see who can start on this team or at least provide some quality depth, because right now there's a lot of inexperience. Stephen Burton's only had a couple catches in his career. I think Brian Walters is in the same situation. Emmanuel Arsenault hasn't played much besides being in the CFL a couple years ago, and so inexperience, but I'm excited to watch this young team, and so let me know what you guys think about the Greg Childs situation and the Vikings wide receiver situation as a whole. I'll have a lot more coming you guys' way soon, and so thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the next videos. Have a great day.